Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Leader Series here on our YouTube channel. I'm Grace Howe, and I have with me an amazing leader of leaders. She is a leader of a global beauty brand and a dear friend of mine, and I'm impressed with who she is and all that she stands for. And so I'm so excited to be able to interview her, Miss Pamela Shaw. Pamela, would you like to say hello?
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you, Grace. Such warm words. Thank you.
Yes, well, warm words for a warm person that is impacting so many lives and so many women. And every time I even mention your name in the company of people that represent your beauty brand, you are held in such high regard, Miss Pam. So I wanted you to know that sometimes the message doesn't always reach back to the person. And so I wanted to be sure to share that and pay that forward to you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Well, I am excited to dive in. I have been pondering and praying about questions that I could ask you that would serve the many that are going to tune into this interview. And so the intention is to draw upon your years of wisdom, experience, expertise. And I wanted to share with the group, I wanted them to get to know you a little bit better. So Pam, give everyone a snapshot of who you are and what you stand for.
Oh, wow. Wide open. Oh, goodness. Well, I am incredibly blessed to be able to live what I believe is the best version of my life at this season of my life. And to be able to have the flexibility to design that and to pivot as life moves forward. So I am a widow. I'm a single mother of a 25-year-old son. My mother is still living. I have an older sister, younger brother, and live in 30-minute proximity from them. And so day to day, I work from home in a home-based environment and love the structure of the day that I've created. I'm an early to rise, early to bed kind of girl. I'm up 4:45, 5 o'clock, and in bed asleep by 9 at night, and feel energized by those early morning quiet hours of prayer and Bible study and contemplation and meditation, and then hit the gym early in the morning and have a pretty predictable schedule day in and day out. But right now at this season of my life, I'm inspired to invest in leaders who want to multiply themselves in other leaders and bring out the best, find those strengths, identify those talents, and invest what they know about leadership into multiplying that. And it's an exciting and challenging piece of a way to do life. But I do feel extremely blessed to have found what I would consider my sweet spot, and teach people how to design their lives and live their vision, and how that plays out in every single day, and really the most minutia of choices, which is where, of course, the 90-day planner came from. And so just the ability to recreate, reinvent any season of life into the person that you really want to become. We're never stuck, right? We're never defined by our past, because it is the past. We can always operate from the present and moving forward. Those are your words that I have made my own since I've gotten to know you, Grace, and it liberates so many people just to own that thought of from today moving forward. And so I've integrated your phrase in everyday conversation with men and women and teenagers about the life that they really want to live, that they're not destined to past mistakes. They're completely open to rewrite override their DNA and live the amazing life they want to live. So in a snapshot, that's what I do.
Yes, I mean, and that's who you are. You are a present. Every time I've been in your presence, you are present. You are a light. You are a woman of your faith and your word, and you are an eloquent writer. I mean, and I want to repeat that 90-day plan. It's not by accident that you are in a position of leadership that millions aspire to. it's not an accident. So how, and I like to ask because I want to stretch your thinking and I want to hear your perspective. So sometimes we can use a phrase, if I only knew then what I know now.
Mhm.
I want to hear one of your, if I only knew then what I know now,
Mhm.
what would be that one thing that your, I guess, your now self, you would have liked to have been able to say to your past self?
Mhm.
Words of wisdom.
Look deeper, look deeper, look deeper, listen more intently. In my younger years, I had an agenda and, the goal setting concept, and I knew the finish line. And I absolutely engaged with people on a personal and meaningful level. But today, I do wish that I had known what I know about shared humanity and genuine kindness, not just niceness, but genuine kindness, greater empathy. I think everybody's doing the best they can, and they want to be both encouraged and challenged. People who are called to leadership want to be encouraged and challenged and stretched. Um, and most of them really believe that they do have something unique to develop and to bring to the world, but they don't necessarily know how to find it. I wish that I had known more about strength finders years ago, that I fully understood that everybody has an order of, and I knew Matthew and the parable of the talents. I mean, that's every Sunday school class for every child who ever goes to church. You do understand that if you have a talent, you let your light shine. You don't bury it. You want the well done from God in the life that you live. Um, so I think that if I could tell my younger self, I don't know though, Grace, that I could have gotten there without the journey. So as much as I would love to have been her 30 years ago, I'm grateful to have migrated to her today and still migrating into a better version of her. But I think be more present, be more genuinely invested, listen more clearly, look at more deeply, because people really just want to be seen and heard and validated.
I, oh my goodness, I love. Let's roll that back again, and I encourage you to go back and re-listen to that because what shared and expressed was listening deeply, having presence, and what I'm also hearing is that part of the learning that you've come to, and and a part of the journey going forward is the evolving of Pam. So I don't know if I would have listened to what I said, my now self would have said to my past self. So what I appreciate about that is embrace the journey. What I shared recently with someone is it's all accumulative. So everything that you walk through, the adversity, the challenge, the success, all of those experiences that life has provided for you are all fuel for where you're going,
Yes,
for living out the calling on your life.
yes, yes, they are. One of my hashtags that I use frequently is hashtag process of accumulation, hashtag the accumulation factor. It's never the one thing. It's never the one good thing or the one bad thing that you want to reel back in. It's never the one. It's the accumulation of all that eventually gives you an outcome in a relationship or in a business or in your own character. It's the accumulation. It's not the one Diet Coke. It's Diet Coke. Not the one stalk of broccoli. It's the process of broccoli, right? So it's this morning in a meditation series that I was doing, the analogy was they were talking about it was about anger, and angry people. Today's world, my goodness, if you turn the TV on, which I rarely do, there's just so much anger. If you turn the volume down and just look at expressions, it's just so fraught with, you know, anger. So the point was, it's not the water around the ship that sinks the ship. It's the water in the ship that sinks the ship. And so, in terms of thinking about emotions that you do not want to be a part of your internal life, they're going to be around us. And around us is not where they sink; it's inside of us that they sink. So, just the accumulation of awareness on a given day of what's going in, what's coming out, and just being in that moment.
Be in the moment, what's being mindful and aware of what you're inputting and mindful and aware of what you're outputting. And often what we input, we output. Our personal message to self, our self-talk, our self-reflection can come forward. And it can, I like to call it a weapon of construction or a weapon of mass destruction.
Mhm.
So, is it a life giving statement or a life taking statement? And so, I think you've brought such a great point of having that awareness of how we are refueling and refilling ourselves. What is that water? Oh
Right.
my goodness, this is powerful. I asked you a question at one stage, and you came back with a concise message that has impacted thousands and thousands of people, because many people say to me, Grace, I'm looking for leaders or I'm looking to develop leaders. And my question to you, because you didn't only develop someone to the highest level of leadership once, you didn't develop them twice, you developed three times and beyond people to the highest levels of leadership in your organization, Pam. And so I thought, who else to ask? You. I thought you're the one to ask. What are some of the unique qualities, distinctions, things that you noticed in people that would elevate to the highest levels of leadership? And these were your responses. May I read them back to you?
Me too. I'm glad you're going to read them to me.
You gifted me and so many others with this message. And I would like for people to be able to hear the depth from you around these five. So there were five specific things that you shared with me that you recognize in those that will achieve and accomplish the highest levels of leadership. The first was work ethic.
Mhm.
They have a willingness not only to think about what they're going to do, to activate it. So, work ethic, they're willing to they're willing to do the work. Number two was that they have resilience. They are not easily offended. So, when you share feedback or your perspective or your insights with them, you're sharing it and they are receiving it.
Mhm.
Not as they're resilient to the feedback was another number two point that you shared with me. Number three is that they had desire. They have desire beyond their current life circumstances. They are committed to something more for their life and their loved ones. Number four, this was powerful, plugged in. That means that they show up. They're on these conference calls. They're watching this YouTube interview. They're participating. They're coming to company and corporate events. They're qualifying for various incentives. So they are plugged into conference calls, weekly meetings, and so forth. Plugged in was number four. And then number five was that they are coaching and coachable, that they are coachable and open to being stretched to take a look at what's working and what could be adjusted. And then because they're being modeled that leadership best practice, they're living it out and providing it to their organizations.
Mhm.
What are some of your thoughts around your words of wisdom?
Mhm. Well, as I think of the women that define the template for which I gave that thought, they're all of that and so much more. Um, I think that just starting with the character of a called leader, there's a difference between wanting something and just knowing that you can't not accomplish something because it's so strong inside of you. And so these five qualities I think would be just non-negotiable in a leader who's going to go the distance. When I think about someone with work ethic, I think about someone who's willing to do what she needs to do. In any company or in any organization, there are benchmarks for stage rewards, prize rewards, but those can become for some people a checkbox reward. I did it. and now I got this, and now I'm accomplished. But yet they never actually advance in their leadership, and they don't bring other people along. So work ethic, I would add to that with an awareness of an end result, a work ethic for the purpose for a deeper with a deeper purpose in mind, not just the checkbox win. And then when I think about resilience, you also used a phrase that I love. In fact, I recently posted on my own Instagram. The title of it is "I am unoffendable," and it was a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, who used to say it all the time, and I was like, I don't know that that could possibly be true. Because I would find myself in moments of feeling offended. And I think part of it comes from loss, right? Because in grief, people will say things to the grief stricken that almost gaslight their grief. And so I'd find myself offended, wanting to educate people on how to better show compassion instead of just making themselves feel good in the moment. But true leaders are not offendable because they can't be. They have to recognize that where a person is coming from is where they're coming from. And that's where the resilience of it's not all about me. So if I'm offended, or if I'm looking at this person and making a judgment, I'm the disqualified leader. When I'm looking for resilience, I'm looking also at my own resilience as I navigate wins, losses along the way. Some people come in for the moment. Some people come in for the win of the day. Some people come in for a piece of the journey. And then some people come in and are with you for a lifetime, but you don't know who is which player along the way. And so the resilience of not making it about yourself, but making it about them is so important. Desire, it cannot be fluctuating desire. I want to win today because the sun is shining at 72 degrees, everybody in my family as well. I don't have any conflict with my other family or mother-in-law. There's nothing broken in the house today I am going to be a winner. And then, today it's gray outside, it's 29 degrees, it's pre-Christmas, blah blah blah. The desire for many people fluctuates with circumstances. And for that epic winner, for that elite winner, desire is sustainable. It is a commitment that surpasses the weather, that surpasses the circumstance of the day. And then the fourth one, plugged in leaders, life, business, it's never a solo sport. We are better together. It's become a common hashtag. It's become a politically correct hashtag. But the reality is we were designed to live in community and in fellowship. And when you say, I just need to unplug for a minute, I mean, we all need to unplug for a minute, right? Dr. Caroline Lee says we need to take at least 17 minutes a day without any technology, walk outside into the air, even if it's overcast, and refresh in an unplugged way. But in terms of community, we need each other. And so those leaders who've gone the distance with me absolutely are people who stayed plugged in, who showed up at events, they didn't like their excuses more than they dreaded the difficulty of the journey. People who like their excuses and their legitimate outs, they like those more than they're willing to push through and plug in and grit it out. They disqualify themselves because plugged in, connected, available, reliable is part of it. I go to the gym same time every day, same group every day. If for whatever reason, and it's rare that I don't go, and it would be more rare that I don't text somebody to let them know that I'm not going to be there, because if I didn't show up and didn't text, there would be 5 people on my text within 15 minutes of the time that class started, because that's what plugged in looks like. It's community. And then that coaching and coachable, the joy of coaching the women that we're talking about, those grandiose, epic leaders of leaders. They're hungry to learn. They're hungry to coach. We've all been to coach school, I think 3 times, and the advanced coach school together once. And so learners of coaching and conversation. And, Grace, I would be so remiss in not saying, the impact that you have had on me and my desire and ability and level of being able to coach as a leader, the impact that you've had, it cannot even be qualified. I hear myself saying things that you say and philosophies that you hold, and the teacher has done an extraordinary job when her student echoes it back, and you're not immediately sure where that came from, but then when you stop to think, it's like, I learned that from Grace. I learned that from Coach School. So thank you. Let me take this opportunity to say thank you for all that you've poured into me in your journey of excellence, in your life of excellence, because you have made me a better leader and caused me to want to be a better leader of leaders in what you teach. It's so significant.
Pam, wow, I'm touched by that. And I'm so excited that we were brought together for a purpose and a reason beyond a season, and that you're imparting this skill and sharing the gift of listening, of connecting with other leaders, of serving people in this manner, because it's one of the I mean, Jesus was the original coach, in my
Right.
opinion. He didn't say, this is who I am. He said, who do the people say that I am?
Right. Oh, yeah. Wow. That's a profound thought, isn't it?
Who do the
Yeah.
people say that I am? And so, through what I've witnessed from your practice of the skill, is that people are awakened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 So,
In a way that they don't feel judged, which is the most beautiful of awakening, because some awakening can be accompanied with shame or guilt. I read a book recently of Andy Stanley's, and the title of the book is "It Came from Within." Actually, my son asked me to read it. He read the book and said, "I think you'll like this book," and I did. And it's the four emotions that either build or destroy a person, and they are anger, guilt, greed, and jealousy. And the solution to each of those: anger is forgiveness, greed is celebration, and generosity. Not greed is generosity, jealousy is celebration, and what was the fourth one? Anger, greed, jealousy, and guilt is confession and forgiveness. And so when we operate in that, just keeping our heart pure, then when we bring something out of another person, we bring it out in a healthy way, not with all those other negative emotions attached.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And sometimes it's that whole thing beyond, underneath the surface. So it's unconscious. There's not even awareness that those are shackles that are holding people
Right.
back
Right.
or hindering their progress or the plan over their life.
Right.
So, wow. I mean, and the fact that you get to do that every single day, that
I
you
know.
yes, you
Yes.
come.
Yes, I get to do that every day. I do. And it is a blessing to get to do that, because here's the other piece of that. Not everybody that I want to grow wants to grow. So I have to navigate and manage my own expectation, disappointment, and not project what I might want or need onto another person who just doesn't, for whatever reason, is not ready or willing to show up as that leader at this time.
And I think you brought up a great point. Ready and willing.
Mhm.
Also, I heard earlier in our conversation the stretch. And so, and I want to hear your thoughts around that, because there was a time where I wanted people to like me.
Yeah.
I wanted them to like me all the time, not,
Yeah.
sometimes, all the time.
Mhm.
And what I realized recently is I said, and it came upon me where I am not doing anyone any favors if they are constantly liking me.
Right.
Number one is I'm not stretching them. I am not stretching them to grow to the person that they were designed to be. And so what I realized was, how can I intentionally make myself uncomfortable every day and also support someone to be a bit uncomfortable each
Yeah.
day?
Yeah. That's a fine line, isn't it?
It is. It is. And so even being able to practice on ourselves what we're preaching from the pulpit.
I,
Yeah.
most
And
important.
how have you been able to walk that fine line of empowerment and inspiration to, I'm going to stretch you. There's going to be
It's
some
so
discomfort.
funny you mentioned that. One of my leaders, we were having a conversation this week, and she was telling me something I had told her years ago at this very time of year. And it was a text conversation or a box conversation, and my reply back was, "Oh my gosh, I used to be so bold." And she texted me back in a nanosecond, "Oh, you're still plenty bold." I didn't know. I went ahead and took it as compliment because I was thinking to myself, wow, that was really a bold thing to say. But I think, Grace, that for me in my own journey, the majority of people that I mentor and coach personally have a relationship with. Meaning, I'm not just going to meet them for one time, drop the bomb, and then go to the next thing. Most of the women that I coach, they've been with me on a journey for a window of time. So there are again accumulative layers of love and compassion in the little push and the little push, so that when it's time to really just say, hey, in essence, I'm going to put it this way because this is the way it was put to me years ago. Kind of, these were not the words, but this is the message: put up or shut up. When that message was delivered to me as I'm gonna leader, oh, oh. Initially, I was really offended. I was offended and I was mad. I was so mad that I couldn't stop crying. And then I don't know if you've ever had a pity party. I'll bet you haven't because you're so much more even tempered. But my pity parties, with a little bit more drama, you're in the bathroom, you're like, and it's over. It's like, okay, I couldn't even manufacture another tears. Like, it's over. It's over. So now I have a decision to make. I either embrace what she just said to me and go to work in a way that's going to produce a different result, or I can remain offended. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. What's it going to be? So because I had a mentor who cared enough and risked enough to be bold enough in a turning point moment, and it was a turning point. A turning point is a moment in time when you think a new thought and you move in a different direction. That's a turning point. It was a stake in the ground turning point in my life. And without her boldness and without her willingness to risk how I would feel about her after her challenging me so deeply, without her, that turning point might never have happened, because the ease and the comfort zone of just moving along in the I'm gonna pathway was just fine. I was young, I was young, I had plenty of time, I'm gonna. And the biggest fallacy that most everybody doesn't fully grasp, whether they're 20 or 70, is the fast passage of time. And so had she not intervened at that moment with that bold message. So her example, actually, Grace, is what gave me the chutzpah, the incentive, the desire to be a leader who could call out and call up, but in love and in belief. And I knew she loved me and I knew she believed in me. There were layers of experiences, postcards, words of affirmation, encouragement, reward, appreciation before that bomb got dropped. And so my experience with a tough leader mentor led me to want to be someone who could do that for other people in love with strength to create a turning point for them.
Wow. So I love you enough to challenge you. I love you enough to to it's almost like she shook you a bit. She rattled your cage a little bit. And sometimes that's what a leader is going to do. It's not that they are putting you down or looking to offend you. They're looking to communicate what they see. And
Right.
it's beyond where you are right now. Wow.
And it was on the heels of a 90-day window of me saying, I'm gonna. October, November, December, I'm gonna. I'm gonna. So in January, on January 1st, when in fact the I'm gonna had not produced what I had said it was going to produce, and it had changed no behaviors. I integrated no new habits. There was nothing about the design your life process that had been lived out. And so that's when she drew the line to say, in or out, but if I'm going to be a part of the journey, it's going to need to look different. And so I wanted her mentorship and her guidance. So I was willing to, at that point, humble myself, take her correction, and go to work. And it was the turning point.
What a blessing that she was willing, and that you were willing to reflect on it, to receive it, and then to do something about it. You did something, Pam, with
All
it.
in one day. This is a one day. This is a movie of one day. All in one day. Yeah. January 1st.
Oh,
1987. Yes.
Thank goodness. Thank
Yes.
goodness. Thank goodness, because I imagine how many lives that would be in a different place if she hadn't.
Right. I wish she could see. She's a saint in heaven. Actually, she passed 3 months after Jerry passed from the same ALS, which was just so bizarre, in my own world at that time. But I hope she can see, because woo, think about that. Oh, Grace, you always make me cry. Whenever I'm with you, I cry. I don't know. Did you know that?
I didn't.
They're always happy tears or insightful tears, but you draw out something so special in people, and it's a gift. I've told you this before, but thank you for the gift of drawing out in me, because it has made me a better human being, and certainly a better leader.
Oh my goodness, Pam, I can only imagine what's in store for all the people that have yet to be learning from you and experiencing you and hearing your message. It came to me recently. The message is meant for the many, not the few. And that and that was one of the reasons I wanted to interview you, is because you have such a depth of message. There are that I think that it is meant for so many in so many places that haven't yet heard what you're sharing today. So I feel so blessed that they're going to be able to draw this in and to listen to it and re-listen to it again and again. See, sometimes what we hear it, we don't necessarily draw it in and then and then live it out, activate it. So, Kim, what would be a message that you would want today's generation and future generations of leaders to know? What would be important for them? Some lessons.
I think one of the lessons that I'm really embracing now is the urgency of taking action on what you know that God is telling you now, that later is not better, and that when opportunity presents itself, it's too late to get prepared. So utilizing the gift of each day in preparation, in practice, in literally practicing the way you want to live, because in essence, that is the way you are living. If you don't practice a perfect day, you never get to experience a perfect day. Yesterday, okay, so this weekend had a really frustrating thing happen with UPS. A box. And sweet guy he couldn't find the box, and the box that it had been delivered, but it hadn't been delivered. And I, at the end of that day, I wanted to replay my conversation with the UPS man. I wanted it to be different. And so I made an elementary school decision that the next day, no matter what frustration came at me, that I would live in complete integrity with the words that came out of my mouth, so that nobody would become more frustrated as a result of being with me in the most frustrating of circumstances. I made a decision, wrote it down, wrote it in my journal, wrote it in my. So you know what happens the next day, right? More, 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 more. So I had lots of opportunities to practice. But what I went to bed with was, today I won in kindness. Today I won. I won all day long in the greatest of frustration, in the level in under the umbrella of kindness, in the holiday season when people are going crazy. So one thing that I like to do in my own journey of life is, where do so many people lose it? Because I want to model how it's possible under the umbrella of love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, the fruit of the spirit. If it's what we profess, then we've got to find a way to live it out in every single day. And so I would want today's leaders, tomorrow's leaders, to know that it comes down to the minutia. It's what happens in the moment. It's what happens in the 30 minutes, the hour. It's never the big event. It's never the on-stage event. It's never the big prize or the reward or the trip or the accolade or the trophy. It's truly the day in and day out moment, because peace of heart and making a difference for someone else's peace of heart is the fuel that gives people both confidence and desire and belief that they can go the next mile, go the next distance. And if they can reflect back a better version of themselves in the day as a result of connecting with a leader on some level, then that person is going to become a stable in their life. And then we're back to connection and purpose and community. And it's just a beautiful way to get to live. I know that God is going to bring to me the leaders that I can most impact. And so the question is, how am I stewarding the leaders that I have right now? If I want more, how am I stewarding what I have? And if I'm a good steward of and to the women that I lead today, then I'm prepared. I'm open for the more. I'm wide open that way. Yeah, receptive. Waiting, not hiding and cowering and like, oh my gosh, you know. So every day is a practice to design your life and live your vision, and eradicate a habit by creating a better habit through a key behavior that you actually track and pay attention to. You know what, Grace, at the end of it all, it's a lot of work. I think that's what people don't know. It's a lot of work to become your best. And at the same time, there's kind of a relaxed pocket in that process. But keeping your thoughts clear, it takes work to capture a thought that's rogue or unhealthy, or the enemy's trying to trip you up. It takes effort to capture that thought and replace the thought. It takes effort to restrain an emotion that's me-centered. Okay, it's all about me. The moment's about me. That when it's not, that takes effort for every person to share the humanity with the person in the same situation of the day. And so I would say to leaders, be kind to yourself, give yourself some slack, and then hold the standard really high at the same time. Be really kind to yourself under a high standard umbrella. Be kind to the people around you, but hold them to their own spoken words of elevation, where they want to go, where they've said they want to go. Be kind, compassionate, but hold them to that, you know, in a way. Be a mirror. As a leader, you're a mirror for your people to remind and to encourage and to support the accountability that way. But at the end of the day, we're all on a journey and we're all getting better. And I believe people are really doing the best they can do on any given day. And so when I operate with that level of thinking, I believe that people will come back for more on their timetable.
Yes, yes. And so what I'm gathering too is that holding yourself to a high standard of excellence, holding the standard high, holding them to their set standard. So if there's any wavering happening, you have clarity of what their standard is so that you can support them to hold them to that. I think that's very important, because sometimes people, we don't know what is your standard. So even being able to, as a leader, asking the people that you're doing life with and business with, what is your standard? And how can I support you and hold you to that standard?
Right.
Another thought too is that distraction, challenge, adversity is going to happen. And so one thing that I've learned physiologically to do that will support me to come back is so just do this for a second. You're kind of scattered, a little bit scattered, a lot of things happening, especially this season, this time of year. What you can do is you can bring it back to center. So you can use your physiology to bring yourself back to center. So anything is happening and it's distracting or detouring your thoughts and your
that.
best self, bring it back to center. And so it actually supports you to regroup. It's almost like a regroup. I'm going to regroup. I'm going
I
to
love
come back
that.
to center.
I love the I love the hand motion of that.
Yeah. And then we're moving forward. We're regrouping, recentering, and we're making progress. We're moving forward. One final thought that I wanted to ask you about, and I encourage everyone to rewind that and replay that. I mean, there, if you want to hear it from the leader of leaders, that message that you just shared, Pam, I think if people were to say to themselves, what is one thing that I could do today that aligns with the message that Pam just shared with me? Now, next day, what is one thing that I can do today that would align my leadership with what was just shared with me? So sometimes what happens, especially, and some of you may be thinking, gosh, there's so many layers to this. How do I, or it can become what people say is, there's so much, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Well, that's the challenge is being able to stop for a moment, pause, and say, what would be one thing that I could apply to my life that would have an impact in multiple areas versus let me do everything she just said and I'm going to apply it all today, yesterday, and going forward.
Right, right. It's always the one thing. And we usually know what the one thing is. We run from the one thing, and that's why we get distracted by the many. It usually is the one thing. You know, we can't prioritize everything that's on our schedule. We only need to put on our schedule what are our priorities. So a lot of people put so much on their schedule, then they try to prioritize that. When in fact, if the only thing that got on our schedule included our priorities, we wouldn't have to prioritize so much. And so it usually is the one habit, the one key behavior. You know, when I ask people, what's the one thing that would give you the biggest bang for your buck at this season of your life? They don't have to think, they know the answer. They know exactly what the answer is. The challenge they have is how that fits in. And the truth is, if it doesn't fit, if that doesn't fit on a half hour, hour, 2 hour part of my day, it will never get done. It's always this thing that looms over me that I know that I need to do next, but I just have not found a way to scrape everything else off and put just that on. When I do that, I find myself living my priorities, living my vision, designing my life. I am now, in essence, with as much certainty as life gives us. There are many circumstances around us that don't allow for that certainty, but within what's uncertain, we can design our lives. And I think that most people let the uncertainty in the circumstances rule what they can't do instead of moving those away and deciding what they can do and then navigating the rest of that along the way. It's just a twist. It's a twist of prioritization. And once you get your hands around it for one day, once you just live one day with that priority, I mean, it's like light bulbs. It is like fireworks. It's life changing once you just live one day that way. So I challenge people: design your day. Design one day, a perfect day, half hour at a time, because you can't live a perfect day until you know what it looks like. So what would a perfect day look like for you? What time would you wake up, and then what would you do? And then what would you do? And then what would you do? And how would you do that one thing that you know that you need to do over anything else to grow your business or grow your leadership or say yes to your calling? What's that one thing? Where would that go? And then what would you do? And then what would you eat? And then when would you go to bed? What would a perfect day look like? And then once you design it, now you're literally inviting your prefrontal cortex, new neural pathways to actually walk into that because you've created a space for what it actually looks like. And there are many things in our brains that it takes up literal real estate. Thoughts take up mental real estate. And we've all played Monopoly, and we know the difference between boardwalk and the bad property, right? We all want the good property. Well, in our brains, a lot of our brains carry bad property. And so what we have to do is like demolish the bad property and invite good new property in. And that starts with a design. It starts with a thought. Every outcome that we have begins with a thought. And so I challenge my leaders to say, how do you want to live? And what would a perfect day look like? And design that. And then let's work on living that day today.
Yes, let's work on living that day today. So, what real estate are we placing in our thoughts, in our mind, and I love that. Life by design versus life by default. Life by design versus life by default. You shared that with me, and that has walked with me. So, one thing that I would like to be able to share with the group and to be able to bring forward for them, Miss Pam, is the fact that I want them to be able to connect with you at
Oh,
some form or fashion. I want them to be able to find ways to learn more from you, experience more things from you. So will you share with them how to connect with you on social media or
yes.
your website, anything that
Yes,
would be
thank you,
helpful for them?
Grace. Oh, I would love that. Well, my Instagram account is at Pamela Shaw, and my website is pamelashaw.pink. And there are free videos there about design your life in the process. And you don't have to use the planner to get the benefit from the content, but there are a lot of free videos about that concept of how to design your life. So Instagram at Pamela Shaw, website pamelashaw.pink, Facebook Pamela Waldrop Shaw. And I started Facebook when Facebook started. So I have one of those dumb accounts that has like a 5,000 tap, and then but you can follow, and so it's the same benefit. And that's mostly where I plug in terms of posting and sharing information. My YouTube account is Pamela Shaw.
Oh, yes. And I'm certain that there is an abundance that we can continue to learn from you. And even with your postings, I've noticed you are a phenomenal writer.
Thank
You
you.
have an impactful message, Pam, and I'm excited to be able to see this message continue to perpetuate and all that you've learned and discovered. I feel so blessed to get to do life with you, Pam.
Oh, Grace, I feel the same. You're such a gift. Thank you for the opportunity to have this chat together, to record this together. And I pray that it does benefit your listeners.
Yes, thank you. God bless you, everyone. Thank you, Miss Pam. Appreciate it.